Welcome to today's new family orientation session. Before we begin, we have a few important housekeeping notes to cover.
La traducción al español para esta sesión es proporcionada por Wordly, una herramienta de traducción en tiempo real. Para acceder a este contenido en español, haga clic en el icono del globo en la barra de herramientas del lado derecho de la pantalla y seleccione Español en la lista de opciones de traducción.
Today's session is being recorded. Recordings will be available approximately 3 hours after the session ends. You can find session recordings in your session schedule or in the on-demand page of the Hub. To ask questions during this session, click on the Q&A button in the panel to the right of your screen. We'll answer as many questions as we can, either during the session or at the end. You can submit questions anonymously. Please don't share any personal information in questions, as questions will be visible to all guests. If you see a question in the Q&A panel that you want to see answered, upvote it to let our team know. Lastly, we ask that you please join us in upholding and promoting UC San Diego's principles of community, and in keeping our community free from any and all forms of discrimination and harassment. Now let's get started with today's new family orientation session.
Okay, hello everyone. We are excited to have everyone here for our presentation, Lighting the Way to Student Support and Success. We'll do some quick introductions and then we'll kind of get into the slides, but I'll introduce myself first and then I'll let Annika introduce herself. My name is Brian Cree, he, they pronouns. I'm the Associate Director of Experiential Learning here in the Teaching and Learning Commons. I'm also an alum from the university, so very excited to be able to give back to students who were like me when I was a student as well. But I'll let Annika introduce herself.
Hi, y'all. My name is Annika Wong. I use she, her pronouns, and I am one of the supplemental instruction coordinators here at UC San Diego. And so I get to work with peer tutors, and I get to see the amazing work that they do with students.
Yeah, and so Annika and I are both really excited to be able to share a little bit about what the Teaching and Learning Commons does with everybody. Something that I think is really cool about the Teaching and Learning Commons is that there's both the teaching and the learning side of it, right? So we have some folks in our team working on helping support faculty become better instructors, better teachers, that sort of thing. Annika and I actually work in the kind of student services, and so we'll be focusing a little bit more on that in this presentation. Because we want to make sure that we give information about all the different kind of range of things that the Commons does to support all members of the UC San Diego community. But we're going to be taking a slightly deeper dive in the student side of things. So just to quickly review our agenda for today, we've done a welcome. We have like a check-in prompt. We'll see how this goes. We're trying some technical things out. We really want to encourage some engagement in this session. We're also going to go over some of our academic support programs and services that we have, talk about what experiential learning is. Some folks have some of an idea, but want to really flesh that out. And then just kind of talking about what the Teaching and Learning Commons brings in terms of an impact, as well as how we can kind of develop some connections. I know in the video at the start, it said if folks want to ask questions in the Q&A. We'll be trying to answer those as we go throughout the presentation, but we'll also have some time at the end to do some live question answering if that's something that people want to do, but feel free again to ask the questions throughout the presentation. One of the things that I want to add just really quickly also is something that I think is really helpful with the Teaching and Learning Commons is the connection, the piece of it, right? So like I said, we do things with instructors, we do things with students. We really want to encourage that community of support. So, whether your students have like cousins or friends or aunties or their grandparents that they go visit, we want to kind of replicate that a little bit at UCSD. But yeah, so for our first thing that we're doing here, we're doing a check-in prompt. And so I will go ahead and share this link. It should be in, there we go. So I just put that in the Q&A prompt as well, so people should be able to see that. But if you want to answer this question, it is, what is a word? Let me see if I can share this, make it a little bit, present it, make it a little bit nicer looking for everybody. There we go. But yeah, so what is one word that comes to mind when you imagine what success looks like for your student? So we'll give some folks some time to answer this question. Hopefully you have an opportunity to scan this QR code and be able to answer the question, or go to menti.com and use the code to join. I see some folks are already participating and putting some words in. That's awesome. Like I said, we're trying to do some form of engagement. We really like to promote active learning in the Teaching Learning Commons, so we would appreciate people being able to provide some of their words and some of the things that they think about when they think about what success looks like for their student. And this is a word cloud, so as more words come in, certain words will get bigger, certain words will add kind of to the mix. So we're going to give folks maybe another couple minutes to add as many words as they want to add in there. Okay, I'm seeing happiness as kind of one of the ones that gets a little bit bigger. That's exciting, and I'm glad to see that. Some other ones we see: involved, growth, kind of changing around on us, learning, happy, right? Successful. Some of these words are getting bigger. That's great. I'm partial to joy. Joy is a good one. Knowledge, independence. I'll leave this up for another maybe like 15, 20 seconds. Really excited to see some of these words come in. I know that these are kind of the hopes and things that we think about for when our students are going into this exciting academic journey, right? And so some of these are sometimes can be a little bit scary to think about, but also is really heartwarming, and it's nice to kind of think about what the future brings for the students that you all have coming to UCSD. All right, so yes, I see happy is one of these ones that's central in here. Feel free to keep adding to this. We'll be kind of transitioning off this slide in a second, but happy, successful, learning, fulfillment, meaningful, right? Building relationships I see is in there, excellence. Graduation, I see find a well-paid career and an internship, right? These are all build a good family, right? These are all things that bring a warmth to my heart, and things that I really appreciate being able to see. I think that when we think about success, it doesn't always have to be the good paying job and good career, right? Obviously, that's one of the things that we think about. We also want our students to be happy. We want them to think about what learning looks like, and be able to help kind of define what success looks like for them, right? And so maybe their version of success looks a little bit different, but hopefully it encapsulates some of these words, right? I think the interconnectedness of it is something that's really important. I really like the idea that these are kind of the words that kind of push our students forward and encourage their hopes and dreams as they kind of embark on this journey. But yeah, thank you all for participating. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the slides, and I will let Annika take us away on the academic support services and programs.
Thank you so much, Brian. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your participation in that activity. Like Brian said, we are always actively trying to get people involved, and that's what we try to do with our students as well. Our primary aim is to help students be successful in their academics by getting them involved and actively working with other students in their strategies. And there's a few different ways that we do this. We have a couple of unique programs that help support students both inside and outside of the classroom. And that is going to be the bulk of this presentation, is just sharing with you a little bit about those services. So specifically in academic achievement services, we employ a peer-to-peer model of academic support, meaning that the tutors and the staff that the students are working with at our center are also students. We see this to be really, really fruitful because students can relate to others in a really, really impactful way. And a lot of times students are a lot more familiar with what it was like to be a student in, say, Math 20A, which is our Calculus 1 class. A student who has recently taken that class might be able to help another student a lot more than someone who hasn't taken that class for a while, or a professor or a TA. They can relate a little bit better. And it's a lot less intimidating to reach out to a peer for support than it is to maybe show up at your professor's office hours. And so we see a lot of really, really good benefits coming from this peer-to-peer model of academic support. And the Scholarship of the Teaching and Learning Commons has also established that learning from peers is a really high impact academic tool. So there's data to back that up. We really see a lot of help in supporting students on their academic journeys. Our academic support services and programs are designed to build confidence in students' learning process and also allow them to have some fun along the way. And as you can see on this slide, we have 3 main avenues for supporting students in the classroom. Our first is in writing, and then we have 2 others that are more focused on STEM support. So first and foremost with writing, we believe that we are all writers and that writing in community with our peers is the ideal way to learn and grow. These foundational principles have really allowed us to grow, and they've been established by the scholarship in writing studies, and they ground all that we do. We also know that in a university setting, writing is a tool that we use to learn and share our perspectives. It is an iterative process. It is always changing. It always involves challenges and ongoing growth in our understanding of how to communicate effectively with others. And this is really true for a lot of college writing courses. There's a lot of writing intensive courses. This is a pretty standard requirement here at UCSD, even for students who are in the sciences. Our peer writing tutors are trained to guide your students along their writing journey as they identify, set, and achieve goals, and as writers through one-on-one appointments and during facilitated writing strategy sessions. These are specialized group tutoring sessions that include a brief tutorial on an important aspect of the writing process, followed by guided writing time where students can make progress on their course assignments in community with assistance from our writing tutors. And I've interacted with our writing tutors quite a bit, and they are just excellent, so skilled in what they do, and so skilled in creating a safe environment to brainstorm and workshop ideas with students. The next 2 academic support services are a little bit more catered toward STEM courses. Both of the programs below, supplemental instruction and content tutoring, support most of the introductory level STEM courses that is required of most students here at UC San Diego, either for their majors or for general education requirements. If you're looking for a complete list, you can find that on our website, and we'll make that available to you throughout the rest of this presentation. So supplemental instruction, which is also known as SI, is all about community, participation, and engagement. Sessions are highly collaborative, and they are planned and facilitated by an SI leader, who's a peer tutor, who has taken the class previously, done well in it, and is currently attending lectures. So say you are taking Intro to Chemistry. You might have an SI leader who is taking that class again with you and creating review sessions that are held weekly that are specifically based on your lecture content. And so we see a lot of success with this model because students are getting really, really good academic support that is tailored to the specific lecture that they are in. Sessions model, again, what you're learning in lecture, and they're hosted weekly, and they're a really, really great place to meet new people. They have offer students the opportunity to have structured, recurring time to review review course material, and they're so much fun. We always walk by sessions and students are on the whiteboard, they are laughing, they are looking at funny memes related to chemistry. It's a really, really good time. However, we also know that group tutoring has a time and place, and some students might need more individualized tutoring. We've got something for them too. Content tutoring is a space where students can get that individualized tutoring. Tutors support students and answer any questions that they might have about their courses. They have drop-in hours and also appointments, and are offered in person and also virtually. Information on the hours and appointments can be found on our website, which again, we will provide. And just as a quick differentiation between supplemental instruction and content tutoring, in SI, the sessions are created by the SI leader, who again has taken that course and is attending lecture with the students and is planning these group review sessions. Whereas content tutoring sessions, these are led by the student. So if a student is going to content tutoring, they're encouraged to bring a problem or a concept that they want additional support with, so that our tutors can work with them on specifically what they are needing help on. We, for all three of these programs, believe that support should be proactive. So our support is not just meant for students who might feel like they're struggling in a class, it's meant for all students. We believe that wherever you are in your learning journey, there's always more to grow, and that growing community is a really effective way to do that. And also, all three of these programs is a really, really great way for students to just know that they're supported on UCSD's campus and make goals in their academics and then find ways to achieve them through these services. All right, so that was a little bit about learning in the classroom, but I'm going to pass it over to Brian, who's going to share a little bit more about support that we offer for learning that happens outside of the classroom.
Awesome, thanks Annika. And just to share a little bit about myself, so I was actually a peer tutor when I was a student on campus, and it's something that I think is a really great experience. I think it kind of dovetails really nicely into this idea of learning outside of the classroom, experiential learning. I did some of my best learning in my student job position, right? And so that's one of many different kinds of ways to think about experiential learning, right? So when we break it down, it's literally like learning through people's experiences, right? Being able to transform something that happened to you into a concrete learning, right? I like to talk about it when I talk about it with students as like think about when you learned something that was really meaningful, right? Very, very rarely is someone saying like, oh, I learned something really, really well in a lecture and kind of learned how to graph an equation really well, right? A lot of the times when I ask that question to students, they think about like, oh, I really like my riding a bike experience is something that really stood out to me, or when I learned to drive, or when I learned how to shoot a free throw or something, right? Like these are all like core experiences when we think about what learning looks like that are things that can happen outside the classroom that can give us just as valuable information and skills, whether that be leadership, whether that be things that prepare us for our future careers, and so on and so forth. And so experiential learning of the Teaching Learning Commons encompasses a few of our major kind of programs and tools. So we have our academic internship programs, we have our UCDC programs, we have a co-curricular record. Like I said, when we think about experiential learning, it's this building bridges between like this like theory of learning and practice and doing things, right? So that learning by doing is one of our kind of catchphrases or things that we want to really encourage people to think about, right? Thinking about what success looks like, right? A few people said like, oh, internships or whatever. And so those are like core examples of experiential learning, right? Like those type of internships, those student positions, those student leadership positions, right? Maybe they're being a leader in a student organization or something. So those are the type of things that we're really trying to capture with some of these outside of classroom experiences. So just to go into it a little bit more depth, like I mentioned, we have our academic internships. We have an academic internship program. This is an opportunity for students to build experiences with either an on or off-campus internship. They also get a faculty kind of advisor, someone that can help them look through and think about the theory of what they're learning and apply it into their position, right? We always think about, after college, we really want our students to get well-paying jobs and careers and so on and so forth. But this is a way to not only help them kind of realize that by thinking about the learning that they can get out of those experiences, but also position them in better ways for once they do graduate, now they have a way to talk about some of their experiences that they do have, right? There's even research that shows that, you know, students that have participated in an internship tend to get hired after graduation at much higher rates, right? And so that's one of the things that we try to encourage students to do is seek out some of these internships. The academic one, like I said, is really great because you get some faculty support, a support from your site supervisor, as well as you get to work on a project, whether that be like a research paper or maybe a poster presentation where you're kind of talking about some of the things that you did in your internship. The UC Washington Center, or the UC DC program, is another program that is very similar to the academic internship program. It's similar in that they are also doing an internship, but they're also living and learning and interning in Washington, DC, right? So all of those things that could happen here on campus or here in San Diego, they're actually happening in DC. And there's a partnership, with the UC DC Center that's over in DC. It's a part of the UC system, so all of their courses transfer over. One of the great things about that is, it's open to all majors, and students have an opportunity to explore the city. There's a lot of support in not only finding an internship, but also kind of what to do with when you're kind of out there and interacting with different folks either in your internship, or because it's across the UC system, they also have an opportunity to meet people from other UC campuses, right? So not just UC San Diego, but UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC Merced, and all of the other campuses in the system. I see one of the questions that came in that I want to add in on this is, what is the best time during the four-year college experience for experiential learning? I would say any time, which, maybe that's not a great an answer, but I think it's very true, right? So like, I'll use some of my own experiences. So I was not a really involved student at UCSD when I first joined. I was, participated as an orientation leader, and then, like I said, became a peer tutor on campus. Those I did later in my career, or in my academic journey, but I wish I had done them sooner, right? Those are the things that I learned so much from those positions, those experiences, were things that if I had gotten them earlier, it would have, I think, positioned me better. I think one of the great things about that is it also gave me things to put on my resume that then I could talk about in interviews. And while, I was a little bit about my background, I studied chemical engineering, and I don't do that now, but it was a way to talk about what I was learning outside of the classroom in an engineering context, right? And so, like, how does a peer tutor relate to engineering? Well, it's like it gave me a way to talk about communication, for example, right? And so these academic internships, these experiential learning opportunities, these are things that I think give you a lot of those kind of skill sets, and maybe like sometimes you think about as like soft skills to better position you or your student to be ready for kind of life after graduation. The UC DC system, or UC DC program, is within the UC system, so there's all of the same transfer credits and things apply. There's not any like having to figure out what works for one campus or another. All of those things kind of transfer over, and it's within the UC system, so it is kind of contained in that way. And then the best time during the 4 years to spend a quarter in Washington, honestly, a lot of students like going in springtime. The cherry blossoms is one of those popular times, but the great thing about both the academic internship program and the UCDC program is that internships are available kind of throughout the academic year, even sometimes during the summer. And so students can kind of explore those opportunities throughout the entire academic year. I do want to touch on some of these other things that we have up on the slide as well. So UCSD's competencies. The competencies are a really great way, and we'll kind of talk about these a little bit more on the next slide, but a great way to kind of talk about and use that skills that are transferable towards internships, right? So kind of like what I was talking about with how you take your experiences outside of the classroom and talk about them in interviews, the competencies are a way to do that on kind of a grander scale. quickly going into the next one, so the research experience and learning opportunities or applied learning real portal. That is currently undergoing some maintenance, but it's something that we're hoping to have back up by the time fall quarter does resume. And it's a great way to search for different research opportunities, different internships, right? So we talked a lot about interning with maybe a campus, an on or off campus opportunity. This is kind of similar, but with research, right? So we really want to encourage research or students to be able to look at that as an opportunity or an option for them. And research doesn't necessarily have to be limited to just STEM, right? It doesn't have to be just the hard sciences. A lot of the times, our students think of research as like, oh, I put on a lab coat and I do stuff with beakers and flasks. But research can look like many different things. There's research in education studies, there's research in the social sciences, as well as the physical sciences, obviously. But there's a lot of different opportunities for that, and many of them show up in the real portal. So we encourage our students to look at that and again, hopefully once the portal is back up and running for us in the fall, we'll be having a lot of students make use of that as an opportunity. And then finally on this slide, I want to highlight our co-curricular record, or the CCR. It's a really cool opportunity to talk about and be able to give like an official stamp for some of the things that our students are doing outside of the classroom, right? So if they're a student leader in an organization, they might be getting a leadership competency and a teamwork competency, and those are some things that they can talk about and have on their transcript, so that when they apply to graduate school, they're not only looking at their academic record, but they're also looking at some of this experiential or co-curricular record, right? So it'll show up as a university approved opportunity that is validated by a staff or faculty person, and it gives them a nice way to show like, oh, here's some of the things that I did off campus or on campus, but outside of the classroom that speak to some of my other abilities, whether it be a leader, whether it be doing your research and that you attained through the real portal, whether it is your internship. So these are all really great opportunities. I see some questions about internships. So some of the internships that we typically do with our academic internships or the UCDC program, we encourage students to apply beforehand and then go through the process of that they apply to internships beforehand and then apply to take the course during the year. For UCDC program, you apply to the program first, and then the folks in DC at the center over there actually help our students kind of find internships in DC. So it is a cohesive support system there. We're not just kind of sending students off into the wind and hoping they can find some things. There are resources that we give them, and we kind of curated job boards that are university approved positions that work with the campus in that way. I mentioned the competencies. I do want to share those a little bit. So these are the 12 competencies that UC San Diego has kind of come up with that help kind of capture some of those career readiness skills that you can get in the classroom, but very often you're getting outside of the classroom, right? So those career development, civic engagement type of things, critical thinking, digital information fluency, especially now, right, with AI and needing to know if is this a real video or is this a real article or whatever, right? So we're trying to, these are competencies that get tagged to different internships, different opportunities in the real portal, or different co-curricular opportunities that students have an opportunity to kind of add to their record. And so the more of these that they collect, the better. Sometimes, you know, if they're kind of going into something that's more tech, maybe digital information fluency is something that is a really highly regarded skill set. But obviously self-reflection is something that's always really great. Teamwork is something that they'll need in any field, regardless of what they're going to be doing, as well as understanding things in a global context, right? Our world is continuously getting more and more interconnected. And so being able to think about and how they talk about these competencies really help position our students that graduate from UCSD in a little bit of a better realm, because then they know how to talk about and connect some of the things that they're learning from both inside and outside the classroom to these kind of larger overall categories. And so I'll pass it back to Annika to talk a little bit more about the Teaching and Learning Commons impact.
Thank you so much. Yes, just as a reminder, so we are the Teaching and Learning Commons. Your student might hear us referred to around campus as the Commons or the TLC, or that space in Geisel with the glass doors. All of those are referring to us. And so we just want to spend this last couple of moments just sharing with you a little bit about our impact. We take it very seriously to make sure that we are doing what we say that we are doing. We want to make sure that our services are impactful in the way that we see them being impactful all the time. And so we are regularly tracking student engagement with our services and ensuring that our hours and our programs meet the needs of our students, meet them where they are in their learning journey. So you can see in the top right corner, last year we had over 40,000 student visits to our space and our services. And so we were just so proud of that number, to see that our services are being utilized by the students at UCSD. And over 9,000 of those visits were from unique students. And so that is more than a quarter of the undergraduate student body that is using our services and getting help in their academic journey, either inside of the classroom or outside of the classroom through experiential learning. There's a little bit of information here about our services and hours, but one thing that I really wanted to hone in on is the fact that all of the services that we provide are completely free of charge for students. Everything is already included in the student's tuition, and so we are doing our best to decrease the barriers that might exist for students when they are looking for support in their academic journeys. And so there are always options to get paid career counseling, or we don't do career counseling, but paid options for experiential learning, paid tutoring options, paid writing support, but everything that we are offering is completely free. And so if your student is interested in receiving that support, we would love to provide that for them. If your student is interested in providing that support to other students, if they want to be a peer educator, we hire over 250 student employees. We believe that being a student employee and working as a peer educator is a really high impact practice. Our student employees undergo training in pedagogy and tutoring and practices that accelerate student learning. They, through their employment, develop competencies that contribute to their learning and make them more competitive in the job market. And I hear this all of the time with the student employees that I supervise, just how applicable the skills that they learn in their position with supplemental instruction is to any of their career goals. And we see that all the time when we're writing letters of recommendation for our students. It's just a really great way to get involved, make money, and develop yourself professionally. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, there is a little bit of information about our communication services. All of that, everything that you're needing can be found on our website, commons.ucsd.edu. We remain in constant communication with our campus community so that everyone, including our faculty, who we also provide support to, can join us in lighting the way for our students. And just as a final piece, the Commons, again, is for all students. It's not just for students who feel like they're struggling academically. It's not just for students who maybe don't know where to start with their engaged learning journey. It is for every single student. So no matter who you are, we would love to see you in our space because we believe that we have some support that we could offer you that could assist you in your journey through UCSD. We are always doing our best to engage students and provide active learning practices, and we believe in the peer mentorship model. And so we're doing our best to A, mentor our students, and B, put them in the position where they can mentor other students, because we believe that that is one of the best ways for students to grow and learn and develop. And at the end of the day, that is our main goal. And thank you so much. Now I'm going to pass the mic over to Brian, who is just going to answer a couple more of your questions.
All right. Sorry, a little bit of technical issues. Had to find the unmute button. But yes, we are. That's basically a quick summary of a lot of the student services that we offer. we've been trying to answer some of the questions that have come in through the chat. This is kind of a more open Q&A portion of the presentation at this point. So we'll be sticking around to answer some questions as they come in, maybe answer some of them live. We're also told that some of these responses will be available and visible after the presentation is completed. So if you ask a question and you're like, oh, I want to see what the answer was for that, you can come back to this presentation and those answers will be visible. So I'll stick on this slide for a little bit, and then if we want to go into the next one in maybe a few minutes, then we'll have one more slide for you all before we kind of start wrapping up what we're doing. Maybe two more, I think, actually. But yeah, any general questions? I'm trying to answer. So when do you apply for the DC internship program? So the UCDC program does have an eligibility requirement. We typically have students apply once they've completed 90 units, which would be around after they've completed their second year of undergrad. So sometimes transfer students is a little bit different. Sometimes transfer students will be able to start kind of their winter quarter of their first year, but often it's after students have completed their second year, we encourage them to do their UCDC program then. And then paid internships, yes, yeah. So some of them are paid. We do. There are a lot of unpaid internships as well. And sometimes students find internships and bring them to us, and we help kind of create that partnership for the academic internship program or the UCDC program, right? So it kind of depends. We have a job board search kind of option with some of our approved opportunities that students can look through. Like I said, some of those are paid, some of those are unpaid. We really try to encourage our partners that we work with to be able to, offer paid opportunities, but we know that that's not always a chance. So sometimes those unpaid things are just as valuable. Well, maybe not just as valuable, but similarly amount of valuable in some of the skills that people can acquire. But yeah, there are some paid opportunities. Okay, there's another question that came in about internships. So another internships question is, internships typically in the summer? No. So some of them are, but very many of them are during the academic year. And that's a really great thing about both the academic internship program and the UCDC program is that they are able to kind of incorporate that into their studies, right? And so the UCDC program, they take a seminar for whatever class that they're kind of taking, and then also doing the internship. And then for academic internship program, they might be taking a biology class or a chemistry class or a writing class or something at the same time, and thinking about how those infuse into their internship experience. Let's see. Best ways for students to get lab experience at UC San Diego? That's a great question. I think lab experience is something that a lot of students are seeking for sure. I think once the research experience and applied learning or real portal comes back online, that's a really great opportunity to look for kind of research/lab experience. But there are also 199 courses. Those are kind of independent study courses that a lot of students kind of tend to reach out to. I think the best way to get into lab experience, in my experience, and what I've seen a lot of our students do is they find a connection with a faculty member, right? So maybe they go to their office hours, they took a class with them that they really appreciated, and kind of make it that personal connection, and then they seek out somebody in that lab or that same professor, and be able to connect with research that is of interest to them. I think it's really valuable for students to be able to network in that kind of way, right? To be able to say like, oh, hey, like this professor that I'm taking, I see you as more than just my teacher, right? Like you also do research, which many professors at UC San Diego also are doing research. With it being a research institution, right? They have an opportunity to kind of not only learn from people who are researching in their field, but also kind of maybe exploring or discovering new things. So that would be my experience of getting lab experience. Do you get credits for an internship? So if students are doing an academic internship, then yes, they would be getting academic credits for it. So not all internships obviously are, but the ones that work through the Teaching and Learning Commons, both with the academic internship program and the UCDC program, do provide credits for students. And then Annika, I see one for you, potentially our first year students hired as peer tutors.
Yes, a wonderful question. So our peer tutoring model, at least how it works in supplemental instruction and content tutoring, is that a student needs to either have taken a course and done well in it, or come in with transfer credit for a course to be able to support it. So depending on this specific first year student's previous academic history, maybe they came in with a lot of AP credits, maybe they're coming in as a transfer. If they have the experience needed to support students in the courses that we programmatically support, then absolutely they can be hired as peer tutors. Also, there's a little bit, for supplemental instruction, we only hire once a year in the spring/summer. And then for content tutoring, sometimes there are multiple times that students are able to be hired. I'm not so sure for Writing Hub, but I do know that all of that information can be found on each of our specific websites. So in a little bit, we'll share with you those links, those QR codes, and there is a space to look for employment interest, where students can look if they are interested in being employed in our services. And then we've gotten a couple of questions like this, where how are we communicating our services out to students? Will they be notified during orientation and things like that? And these are really, really wonderful questions. We are grateful for you all caring about that. Yes, we do our best to make our presence known to students through various different events on campus, whether that be orientations. We just did an event with prospective students, and we'll be doing one soon with transfer students. We are constantly trying to get our name and our services out to students through events like orientation and things like that. But we also do our best to network with faculty members so that they include information about us on their syllabi. We do our best to form strategic campus partners with other academic support spaces on campus, or with the Career Center, or spaces where they can refer students to us as well. And then we are located in the bottom floor of the main library. And so we're in a pretty central place on campus where students are coming pretty often. And so with that, we do our best to get the word out. And then also some of our programs like supplemental instruction, we have peer tutors that are actually going into lecture and attending lecture with students. And there they can network with the students who are in those spaces, make announcements during lecture and things like that. So we are embedding our support into the daily lives of students as well.
And I'll just add to that as well. So something that Annika kind of mentioned briefly is that the students that we typically see kind of visiting the Teaching and Learning Commons, whether that be seeking like tutoring support or seeking experiential learning opportunities, those are the students that are like trying to utilize their resources, right? And so the ones that are really proactive are the ones that we typically see being as like very successful students, right? So they're doing well in their courses, they're getting these opportunities, they're maybe becoming peer tutors, right? And so they're able to kind of use that as an opportunity to say like, oh, these are some resources that I found or that I learned about. And so part of that is, we try to put our foot forward and be out there, out in the community of the UCSD community. But sometimes students come to us and they're like, oh, hey, like I heard about this, or my friend visited and I'm interested in this opportunity as well. So, kind of a little bit of both. See another question here. How competitive are the internships? Do you need to have certain grades or recommendations? That's a great question. Honestly, some internships, especially the ones that are kind of off-campus internship opportunities, function very similar to just like kind of how people would apply to a job, right? So sometimes they require a resume, sometimes they require a cover letter. There may or may not be recommendations. It is a really good opportunity for students to visit our team to kind of see like, oh, hey, what can we do to help you kind of better prepare? There's also the Career Center is a really great resource that's on campus that students can utilize to get some support from either a peer student, kind of similar to for peer tutoring, but for your resume or for your cover letter, as well as from the career staff there to kind of help with networking. They put on a lot of events towards like career fairs or bringing in alumni or professionals in the field to talk about some of their experiences. Similarly, the writing hub in the Teaching and Learning Commons will host different kinds of workshops that help students kind of think about what are great ways to write personal statements or cover letters or resumes to better improve their application materials as well. Okay. And then, yeah, so how do students request tutoring or experiential learning? There's a lot of different ways that they can come in. So they can definitely come in person, the Teaching and Learning Commons. Currently our hours are, 10:30 to like 4-ish in person during the summer. It goes a little bit later during the academic year, depending on what academic services we have going on that late at night. But yeah, there's also virtual options for people to come in as well.
Yeah, and then also for our writing services and for our content tutoring services, students have the ability to make appointments ahead of time. And so we have online opportunities for them to do that. And then for supplemental instruction, they are actually all drop-in appointments. So their SI leader will let them know what time their sessions are going to be held, and it's just whoever can come can come. And then also just as a reminder for our content tutoring and for our supplemental instruction, we also offer virtual options as well. So there are in-person options for all of our services and then virtual options for our STEM support.
And tutoring is honestly a really great way for students to study, kind of work smart and hard kind of at the same time, right? Just because I think there is sometimes we see a lot of students come in who think of tutoring as something that's like, well, I don't really need help in this class, and that's fine. Like they can still come in for tutoring, right? It's a really good opportunity for them to kind of strengthen their understanding of the material and connect with some of their peers in their classes, get a better feeling and footing and foundation for some of the stuff that they're going to be working on. So we encourage people to come in no matter what, right? It's a good practice and habit to build. Okay. It looks like most of the questions, I will kind of go on to the next slide just to have us wrap up a little bit. So we have a few QR codes that we really encourage folks to be able to look and kind of engage with. Students, we really encourage to follow our Instagram. That's been a common one that the youth utilize a lot now, but we also have a LinkedIn page and Facebook page. We really encourage community members to participate and kind of follow some of the things that we have, as well as it looks like Annika just dropped the general link and website for the Teaching and Learning Commons, which is, I think, a really helpful resource to kind of just look around and explore some of what our website is. Like I said, Annika and I have gone through and talked a small piece of some of the work that we do, as well as the other members of our team do, but there's a much bigger world of both the Commons and UCSD that we hope to be able to share with you and your students. Yeah, that pretty much wraps us up. I'll leave these QR codes on for just a little bit in case people need some last minute scanning of the different ones. But I also do want to share our contact information in case people are interested. These are our titles, these are our emails. Feel free to reach out. This is a good opportunity to connect your student with someone, hopefully a friendly face at UCSD, and be able to have them find something for them. Right? I like to think of our career staff and professional staff as even if we're not quite the right resource, we will find someone on campus to redirect you and do kind of a warm handoff, right? So I like to think about it as like, maybe we're the neighbor that helps let the handyman into your home and make sure to look after things so that, while you're on vacation or something, right? Obviously, we can help out with some of the different things, but we can also redirect, and we know a lot of strong partners around campus that we want to connect people with. Last check on the questions. We do have a couple. Someone said thank you, appreciate it. And then there is another question, Annika, that this is maybe your realm. So regarding supplemental instruction, is it offered only for certain courses? And are there more sessions offered for larger classes to accommodate for more students that come in?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking this question. Yes, it is offered only for certain courses. Right now, we are focused specifically on the introductory level STEM courses. So you can find that complete list on our website. We actually have our schedule up for summer right now. During summer, we have a more limited offering, but during the academic year, we offer more courses in biology, chemistry, economics, math, physics, and then some psychology and management courses as well. And then, are there more sessions offered for larger classes to accommodate for more students? Great question. We do, when we have extra SI leaders, we try to put them in either larger classes or classes that historically get a lot more attendance, like our organic chemistry. We tend to see pretty large attendance in sessions like that. And so we will, when we have extra support, we will offer it in those classes so that we can accommodate for more students. We also try to train our SI leaders to be as communicative with their students, and then also to poll students and see what times work best for their students to attend sessions so that we can access, get more students using our services so that it's not a barrier of, well, that time doesn't work for me. So great question. Thank you so much for asking that. And then, what is your website? Thank you so much for asking that. So you can find us the entire Commons at commons.ucsd.edu. And then from there, you can navigate to all of our different programs. If you specifically look under the tab for students, you'll see like 4 different options. So content tutoring, experiential learning, SI and study groups, and writing support, which are the 4 things that we talked about today. So commons.ucsd.edu, and then go to the For Students tab. It'll take you right there.
Well, that's pretty much all we have to share in this session. Annika and I could go on for much longer if we wanted to, but we also want to respect your all's time, and I know that it's a little bit later in the evening. So we want to also give you an opportunity to kind of explore some of the things and resources that we shared. Like I said, we can encourage, we'll answer some of the questions that get dropped in afterwards. If you think of a really great question, which is what I do all the time, as soon as the session ends, I'm like, oh wait, I have a great question. We'll answer some of those via kind of a chat, and then you can always come back and look at those in the future as well. Oh, do you want to grab this one, Annika, before we wrap up?
Sure thing. I was typing out a response, but yes, students can attend some of these SI sessions right now if they are enrolled in a course that if your student is in a summer course and we offer support for it, we would love to have them come by. They can find our summer schedule on our website. Right now, we are supporting the Chem 6 series, the Chem 40 and 41 series, as well as the Math 10 and 20 series and Math 18, and then Phys 2B. So if your student is in any of those classes, again, that full list can be found on our website. They are more than welcome to come to an SI session. We would love to have them.
But yes, thank you all for attending our session, and welcome to the UC San Diego community, both you and your student. We're happy and excited and hope to see some of your students visit us, and we'll welcome them with open arms, and hopefully it's a nice day.